For thousands of years, sailors returned from the sea with stories. Stories that sounded almost impossible. They spoke of creatures the size of islands, serpents that dragged ships into the abyss, monsters with eyes as wide as wagon wheels, and tentacles that crushed iron hulls like paper. For centuries, people dismissed these stories. We call them superstition. The fears of men who had simply been too long at sea. But what if those sailors were telling the truth? Today we count down 10 legendary sea creatures, and the very real animals that may have inspired them, because sometimes myths are simply science waiting to catch up. Number 10, the Aspidoctoloni. In ancient and medieval manuscripts, sailors describe something extraordinary. An island that breathed, a mass of land covered in soil and trees that could suddenly sink beneath the waves, taking everyone on it down into the sea. They called this creature the Aspidoctoloni, a beast so massive that sailors mistook its back for dry land. Ships would anchor beside it, men would climb ashore, they would build fires, cook their food. All while believing they had discovered a small island in the middle of the ocean, until the island began to move. It sounds impossible. But consider the whale shark, the largest fish on Earth, growing up to 12 meters long, about the length of a school bus, or the leatherback sea turtle, whose shell can span nearly 2 meters. Ancient mariners encountered animals like these in open ocean, where judging size and distance is incredibly difficult. A massive whale drifting motionless at the surface, covered in barnacles and seaweed, could easily be mistaken for a reef, or something far more dangerous. The ocean has always been very good at deception. If you were a sailor in the year 1200, with no maps and no science, what would you have called it? Give this creature a name worthy of the deep, and drop it in the comments. But the ocean didn't just inspire monsters, it also inspired gods. Number 9, the hippocampus. The ancient Greeks and Romans imagined a creature that was half horse and half fish. They called it the hippocampus. According to legend, it pulled the chariot of Poseidon across the waves and carried the souls of drowned sailors to the underworld. Seahorses are real, of course, but the mythical hippocampus was far larger, a creature powerful enough to carry a rider. So where did the idea come from? One possible explanation is the walrus. To Mediterranean sailors encountering the northern seas for the first time, a walrus rising through the water could appear very strange. Its broad neck, its whiskered face, its powerful rolling movement through the waves. Seen from a distance, it could easily resemble something horse-like. Add imagination, and the human instinct to explain the unknown, and a god steed almost writes itself. Number 8, the sea monk. In the year 1546, fishermen off the coast of Denmark pulled something unusual from the sea. A strange creature with a bald, rounded head, a long, robe-like body, and fins that looked almost like folded hands. To the fishermen who discovered it, the resemblance was unmistakable. It looked like a monk. The story spread quickly across Europe. Scholars debated its meaning. Was it a divine omen? A warning from God? Today, zoologists believe the explanation may be far simpler. The giant squid, a deep-sea animal that can grow more than 12 meters long. When partially decomposed, its body could easily create exactly this appearance. The mantle forms the bald head. The arms, partially spread, resemble a robe, and the eyes, enormous even in death, stare with a strange and unsettling stillness. Humans often see patterns. The ocean simply provides the raw material. But Europe would soon report something even more unsettling. Number 7, the selkie. It's midnight on the Scottish coast. Fog so thick you can barely see the rocks, and from somewhere below you something begins to cry, not like an animal, more like a person who has lost everything. Scottish and Irish coastal folklore speaks of the selkies, beings who lived as seals in the water but could shed their skins on land and walk as humans. They were melancholy creatures, always drawn back to the sea, leaving behind families and lives they had built on shore. The selkie myth likely has 2 real-world roots. The first is the gray seal. Along rocky coastlines, its haunting cries can sound almost human, especially on a dark, foggy night. The second explanation may be darker. Some historians believe selkie stories preserved memories of Arctic peoples who wore sealskin suits while kayaking. Seen from a distance, they could appear almost like creatures of the sea, arriving silently from the fog. Myth is often history, told by people who simply did not understand what they were seeing. Number 6, Scylla. In Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus must sail through a narrow strait haunted by Scylla, a monster with 6 heads, each lined with rows of teeth. a creature said to snatch sailors straight from their oars. The location described in the story is almost certainly the Strait of Messina, between Sicily and mainland Italy. Even today, it remains one of the most dangerous passages in the Mediterranean. But 6 heads and rows of teeth? One possible explanation lies in the giant moray eel. These eels can grow more than 2 meters long and possess something unusual: pharyngeal jaws. A second set of teeth hidden deep inside the throat. When the eel strikes, these jaws shoot forward and pull prey deeper into the mouth. Imagine several large moray eels attacking from rocks along a narrow channel, bodies lunging from the darkness, jaws snapping again and again. To ancient sailors, it might have looked exactly like Scylla, multiple heads, relentless teeth, men vanishing one after another. How many monsters in history were simply animals we did not yet understand? Number 5, the Lusca. In the Caribbean, especially around the Bahamas, locals speak of something called the Lusca, a creature described as part shark, part octopus that drags swimmers into underwater caves. These caves are called blue holes. They plunge hundreds of meters into the earth, and powerful currents move through them. Divers have disappeared inside them. The likely explanation is far less supernatural: octopuses. Large species are intelligent den dwellers. They drag prey into their caves and defend their territory aggressively. An octopus guarding the entrance to a blue hole could easily look like a creature pulling things into darkness, because that is exactly what it would be doing. Number 4, the Hafgufa. Old Norse texts describe a creature called the Hafgufa, a monster so enormous that sailors sometimes mistook it for an island. According to legend, fish would gather around it. Then suddenly the creature would open its mouth and swallow everything nearby. This may sound like fantasy, but it resembles a real feeding strategy. The humpback whale uses something called bubble net feeding. Whales release spirals of bubbles around a school of fish, then they surge upward through the center with their mouths wide open. To someone watching from a boat, it could easily resemble an island rising from the sea and swallowing everything around it. The Norse sailors were not entirely wrong. They simply lacked the words to explain what they saw. Number 3, the Leviathan. Imagine encountering a sperm whale in open ocean, in a wooden boat, at night. No engine, no radio, only the stars above you. And somewhere below, something nearly 18 meters long is rising. Ancient texts describe Leviathan as an unstoppable sea beast, but the writers may have been describing something real. The sperm whale. It can dive more than 3 kilometers deep and produces some of the loudest sounds in the animal kingdom. Historically, sperm whales have even attacked ships. In 1820, one famously rammed and sank the whaling ship Essex. There may also have been another inspiration. Massive mosasaur fossils have been found along Mediterranean coasts for centuries. To ancient people, these bones must have seemed impossible to explain. In the language they had, there was only one word: Leviathan. Number 2, the sea serpent. Few creatures appear in as many cultures as the sea serpent. Viking sailors wrote about it. Chinese records describe it. For centuries, witnesses reported enormous snake-like animals moving across the surface of the sea. The most likely explanation is the oarfish, a long ribbon-shaped fish that can grow to extraordinary sizes. Some reach the length of a telephone pole. When they rise to the surface, they twist through the water in long waves. From a distance, the resemblance to a giant sea serpent is striking. The largest recorded oarfish measured 17 meters, and we have almost certainly not discovered the largest one yet. Number 1, the kraken, and finally, the creature that terrified sailors more than any other: the kraken, a monster said to rise from the deep and drag ships beneath the waves. For centuries, it symbolized humanity's fear of the ocean. Then in 2004, scientists captured the first images of a giant squid alive in its natural habitat. The giant squid, Architeuthis ducks, can grow more than 13 meters long. Its eyes are the largest in the animal kingdom, each about the size of a dinner plate. Sperm whales have been found with massive sucker scars on their bodies, evidence of battles with squids even larger. And we have explored less than 20% of the ocean. So the kraken may never have been a myth. It may simply have been something we had not yet discovered. The ocean is older than almost anything else on Earth. Given enough time, life there can evolve into forms we can barely imagine. These stories were not inventions. They were attempts to describe something real, something seen at the edge of human understanding. And somewhere below us, in water deeper than Mount Everest is tall, something may still be waiting to be discovered.